when I heard that sentence, for me, it's kind of summarized all the things that I heard before, and kind of she gave a label to all the
Mm-hmm.
things. So the way I think about, and you will hear me, I mean, I will try not to use the word neuroscience too much because I feel like it's loaded term. And I'm the first one to say I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm also the first to say I don't have to be a mechanic, an auto mechanic to be able to drive a car.
This is Leadership Sound Bites. Real leaders, real moments, real growth.
Okay. Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with my super special guest. And I think we met, I meet so many people on LinkedIn. I think you reached out because we had so much in common around possibility and all the stuff. Yeah. Irina Cozma, and you are a coach and speaker, and you're freaking writing a book, which I love, right? And so I'm excited to have a chat with you because when we met, there's so many overlaps of what we do that it's like literal, if you think of visual, it's like leapfrogging through stuff. It's like, yeah, and that and that. So I'm excited. And what
Yeah.
is your quote that you brought?
Yeah, just let me react to what you just said. Yeah, like the way I see it so far is that we have we are one and the same. We have the same life more or less. Let's see what else we discover today. But the quote that that stuck in my brain earlier this year is a quote that I heard a neuroscientist saying, and I hope people, when they're going to hear it, they will never forget it because it's so simple and so useful. And again, a neuroscientist said it, which means that there is some value in it. The sentence says it's a definition of the brain. So the question is, what is a brain? And the way Lisa Feldman Barrett, the neuroscientist, said, the brain is a piece of meat in a dark place. I was in awe when I heard that quote. It's simplified and it clarified and it empowered at the same time. So yeah, it's one of my favorite things that I learned this year, and I say it to all my clients with the hope that they will feel more empowered and more at ease and more relaxed on how much power we have on this piece of meat.
Well, and it's interesting when you say that because like when there's so much energy around that one statement that's being made, right? And I can hear for you that it's backed by science, right? It's all the stuff. But so what shift happened for you? Because that's where the curiosity came for me. It's like what shift, because it has such meaning for you that I wonder what story did you have going before you heard this quote that was backed by science that all of a sudden just because I have this sense that it just set you free.
Yeah, so I'm reading neuroscience for a while. I mean, neuroscience is a pretty young science, so they are still figuring it out. And I'm following Lisa Feldman Barrett for a while, and I know exactly, I learn a little of how she thinks about things. Um, when I heard that sentence, for me, it's kind of summarized all the things that I heard before, and kind of she gave a label to all the
Mm-hmm.
things. So the way I think about, and you will hear me, I mean, I will try not to use the word neuroscience too much because I feel like it's loaded term. And I'm the first one to say I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm also the first to say I don't have to be a mechanic, an auto mechanic to be able to drive a car. So similar way I'm thinking about this, like what can we learn about the brain, all of us, not only me, without being actual neuroscientists? I don't feel any pressure to speak about it without having a degree about it. So that sentence for me helped me clarify for myself, but also it was useful for me to be able to say it to others because I listened and I read and I heard and I kind of in my brain was kind of I was trying to put the pieces together,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still hard to say it to somebody else, explain it to somebody else. So that's a very beautiful and elegant and simple sentence. You can start a conversation with somebody who is, for whatever reason, struggling with different things. If you start there, the brain is a piece of meat in a dark place. I mean, how much freedom is in that sentence? How much possibility is in that sentence? Um,
So it's interesting, Irina, when you're talking about that, because for me, it's like if we've gotten in a place that the voices in our head and the narratives that we have going and all the stuff that we've conditioned ourselves through life, we think this is it and it can't ever be anything else. The thing to think about is, are you handing over your future to a piece of meat in a dark place? Or are you going, it's just a piece of meat in a dark place, and I have control over the thoughts and the things and all the stuff that happen. And so when I hear that, because I hear all the energy in your voice about the freedom that it gave you, and it's when stuff like that happens, the shift, what I know to be true is we have some underlying narrative or story before that new story came to life that's like, I can do something. I do have more power. I do have more control. What do I want? Oh my God, I can fly. I mean,
Yes.
that's what it feels like.
Yes.
And so for me, when I think about that stuff is, where are people and circumstances that we've, through our mind, trapped ourselves in this place, like I've got a sign that my granddaughter gave me. It's like, think outside, no box required. Where have we put ourselves in a box
Yeah.
that all we have to do is remember it's a piece of meat in a dark place? Get out of the frickin' box.
Yeah, we tell to that meat what to do, not the other way around. So that's
Yes.
one of the first message, like you have input. It's bottom up, probably not top down.
Yes.
Also, I would say before going any further, like, yes, we are going to have a conversation and it's probably very freeing and everything we are going to say here, but I want to make a quick disclaimer that there are people in situations where everything we are going to say here probably is not going to make a lot of sense. So I understand there are people in conflict zones, people who are really struggling with more basic stuff that it's kind of silly to go and say, think about it, it's possible when you are under rubbles or under attack. So there is a different place and different conversation for people who really like, there is some really limiting things that are physical limiting, but for the rest of us, we have the privilege of not being under attack by real bombs and real world like that situations. We have no excuse, really no excuse to maybe stop a little minute longer and understand exactly what is happening, this belief that we have. So, and it happened to all of us. I mean, it happens to me many times. I catch myself saying, I cannot, I really cannot. I understand that other people can, but me, I cannot. So, and it's kind of more panicking, like, no, it's in my brain, it's crystal clear that I cannot. If somebody comes to me and say, no, I cannot, I promise you. So I don't think that is much. I mean, yes, others can put some cracks in our brain, but still us need to do the heavy work of trying to understand what's happening, where it's coming from, what can I do about it. Just asking the question, can I do something about it? And I don't know, like very quick example, like now that I was thinking about last time, like when I said my biggest I cannot or I'm not, for me was around the confidence. So like imposter syndrome, all of that. All my life I thought that I'm kind of stupid, not very smart, below average, poor me.
Really?
And it doesn't matter how somebody would have come and say, but
Yeah.
look, the facts. No, I promise you, it's poor me, and I cannot.
Yeah.
So it's a journey of almost 20 years for me to be here today and say, what am I talking about? I'm top 20%, I'm top 10%. But this is again happened over almost 20 years of keep cracking that belief. Hopefully other people are faster than this. It took me 20 years. But again, it's a lot of energy from my part to investigate, to hypothesize, to check, is it true? Is it not true? Why is it not true? And for me, the first crack happened when my husband heard me talking like this about myself. Then it was my boyfriend. And which he's more confident in himself, he looked like completely lunatic for somebody to say things that I was saying. One of the things I would say, I tricked everybody. That's how I got to have all the things I have. I have 2 masters and a PhD, and I tricked everybody. So that's how this happened. And he put the first crack in my brain, and he said, "Do you know how smart you must be if you tricked everybody?" And that made me like, it was like, okay, either I'm smart because I tricked everybody, or I'm just smart because I'm smart. So I was like, I feel like stuck in my judgment, you know? So that was the first crack. I couldn't solve that dilemma, what's happening here? This is not logical, what's happening, you know? So again, it was a crack, mid 20 years. But if that belief, it's there for 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to take a lot of time to peel it apart and reach a different place.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kind of realistic expectations for everybody listening. You know, it's not going to be overnight, and there is no magic button. There is a lot.
And the thing is, I'll tell you, it can happen overnight because I have seen shifts in people overnight. I think it depends how grounded you are, right? If you had heard that from your boyfriend, if he had been earlier, okay, because if you think about the crack that you talked about, the crack's significant because you had this solid belief going on, all right, until he reframed it at some level. So I don't think it has to take 20 years or whatever period of time. I think it has to do where somebody else challenges the thinking. And the somebody else can be us. So, when we have the inner voices, they talk about positive intelligence, with saboteurs and our sage brain and all the stuff, that our subconscious primary job is meant to keep us safe, right? So when I think about that, the stuff that you had going was at this subconscious level that, it's a belief that you had, and with the narrative running, meant to keep you safe, right? So maybe at some level, and granted, the subconscious is not logical, it's purposeful. So when you think about all that you went through and the narrative that you have going, it's going to keep you safe from something, right? So that, okay, if I don't claim to be XYZ, then I'm not going to get exposed, or I'm not going to be hurt or damaged, or I'm not going to be embarrassed, or I'm not going to be expected to do, any number of things to be going on from childhood. Your childhood, right? Because that's where this stuff starts. And we don't have to necessarily know where it came from. We just have to know that it's not logical, it's purposeful, and that the narrative that we have going and the beliefs that we create new ones.
Yeah, and let me
That could
add.
have happened at any time in your life, and it can happen in a nanosecond, because when that crack happens, you can't keep the stuff in there anymore.
Yeah, and again, I am more on the let's give people realistic expectations. It might be, who knows, everybody's different. But I will also say that when this happened, I did not have the tools, the information, nothing. I was like just going on with my life, trying to do my best. Now, when I read so much and I know so much, now I'm catching myself much faster, and I know how to pull myself out of different situations. And I can give you another recent example that it took much, much faster. So that's another thing that I would say, like, I did not have a coach, I did not read neuroscience, I didn't know anything about how the brain works. And maybe that's another thing, how I think information, knowledge is not everything, but it's good enough as a foundation to have to get you going somewhere. So again, how you shorten this work period is like, be more intentional and do some. I didn't. I was like, I still felt like I have to do it by myself, and it was my thing, and I tried to troubleshoot it by myself in the absence of any other support or help or knowledge or information. So that's why it took so long.
Well, and my gosh, Irina, if you think about all the advancements that we have now and the knowledge that we have access to, the information we have access to that we didn't have 20 years ago or 15 years ago or 10 years ago. It's night and day. So all you have to do is like you and I being here now. I wouldn't have been doing this the way we're doing it before COVID. It wouldn't have happened. So now we're connecting with people, because I know you're in the US now. You weren't always in the US, but I have people that are in Dubai that are on the podcast, right? That wouldn't have happened before. So we have access to information and different ways of thinking and awareness on things that we never had before. So I can appreciate your caution with people, but what I'll say this, because I know to be true, if we believe it's possible, it's possible. If we believe it's not possible, it's not possible. So it's a matter of going, and we don't have to have the answer as to how it happens. You can do and ask yourself, I don't know how it's going to happen, but da, 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 just throw it out there. Don't put the roadblocks up, because the roadblocks are going to trigger everything else to go not safe, don't know how to do that, boom, and we will be in our own box that we created. It's that simple.
Yeah, sounds simple, but I don't know if you can put yourself in one of your recent, I cannot, I don't know, blah, 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 whatever we tell ourselves. What I see in my clients is like, I mean, like, I think my clients or our clients are
Yes.
already billions of steps ahead because they go and they ask for help and they know that something can be better. So that's even for them many times it's hard. But imagine somebody who doesn't even realize or understands or like stays there, like suffers in silence without even asking for help. And help again can be direct or indirect. Can be indirect is just like just listen, just hear. There are so many podcasts, so many books. You can just indirectly assimilate some things. Directly is like go and talk with somebody. It doesn't have to be a coach. It can be a person that you admire. Say, hey, how did you become like this? We are always so, let's say, confident in my case, or like, but what I find very hard is from people to move from that helplessness and that completely blindness in a way that you cannot even make the first step. Like it's an absolute no, I cannot, I don't see, if there is nothing, it's zero. So I feel like that's the hardest crack to make. Once you make the first crack, things can evolve a little faster. So for me, that's people that those people are such a like how to reach to them and how do you make the first crack. That's a very interesting
It's
challenge.
so interesting because I have so many different swim lanes of how I'm connect with people, right? So it's my business to where I contract with people that is the scenario that you're talking about, to where people go, yes, I want to coach. There's intention around that. And maybe it's awareness that it can be different, or the fact that it just sucks where they're at now, whatever that may be, right? Then there's another swim lane to where I do workshops that people sign up for from the state, right? So it's group coaching stuff, open enrollment, people sign up for, you name it. The one that I just did this week is stress management and self-care. So you have people open enrollment, sign up for that, okay? They don't necessarily know that something can be different. They just know that how they're feeling isn't working.
They
You know,
sign
and
up,
so
they made an action.
they signed up. The other one that I'll have is, because I'm a coach with Coach Hub, which is a digital coaching platform that contracts with employers, that people will get voluntold, or they'll sign up because it's a benefit that the organization has. They don't know what they don't know. They have no idea. They've never had a coach. They step in and go, I have a coach. I'm like, okay, great. No goals. Because they have no idea what's possible. And so I end up with a variety of individuals that I end up working with, from senior leaders that got voluntold because the organization is doing this and you shall do it too. Right. And so I'm in the room with them and I'm like, what are your goals? I don't have, why are you here? Because I got told. Okay, great. So my challenge is to make sure you get value out of this. And so that bucket, and then we have others that are individual contributors, right? Which means they don't have people reporting to them. And it could be, I mean, I've had college students that I've coached that don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And through coaching, or at least being on the outside listening to language people use, to the tone of voice, all the stuff, because people think that they honestly believe, if they're in victim mode, that they have no control. That the reason they feel this way is because of this and this and this. They believe that. And because they believe it, it's true.
Yes, and I would argue all the examples you gave, again, these are even the reticent executive who was told, and if he's willing to show up and still think, it's still he is willing to. and the universe got him the opportunity and he's willing to do an effort. And that's, well, yeah, what I'm talking about is all the people who don't, the universe didn't put them in front of somebody to give them a different perspective, and they don't even think or don't care. Or many times, what these people many times might need is actually the therapy. The therapy needs to come first before the coaching comes. Because they are maybe literally spinning in circle, like they don't know how to get out of it. It's that helplessness, like very hard. And I don't know, if I met people that like it was a no, it was a strong no, doesn't matter what, like their life made sense to them to be like that small and miserable, and there's nothing anybody could have done to help them if they.
Well, and it is what I've learned, and I'm sure you've learned too, is that it's an addiction. You become addicted to that experience. Your brain does, right? This piece of meat in a dark room becomes addicted to, and your body does too, addicted to the experience you have in life. And so it's like if you wake up in the morning, and people have done this, and you're going, oh, God, here we go again. Here we go again. I mean, you've literally just said repeat. So whatever the negative crap or whatever is going on that you're not looking forward to today because you told yourself it's the same as yesterday and the day before and the day before that, your whole body goes, okay, we're replaying that one. And boom, off we go. You're into a pattern. And so my caution for people, and this is what I say when I'm listening to language and words and everything else, is if you're experiencing life and it doesn't feel great, change it. That's the awareness that there's opportunity is probably the better way to say it. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be skipping along and everything's rainbow and sunshine and unicorns. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is, and I'll go back to Sean Akers' happiness advantage. If I know everything about your external environment, I can only predict 10% of your future happiness. 10%. It's an inside job.
Yeah, and hearing you talking, I don't know, another thought came to my mind. I don't know if it's valid or not, but let's assume
It's
that
all
somebody,
valid. It's all valid.
if we manage to move somebody and say, hey, the words, pay attention, all of that, and let's say they believe us for whatever reason, like say, okay, I will, but then they go and try it once, twice, and like, oh, see, it's not working. And exactly what you said, it's not going to be butterfly and roses. It's going to be an effort and intention, and it might take you 20 years. But maybe because they're not used also to making the effort and putting the effort and having the resistance, they also maybe it's easier for them to give up. And that's maybe, like, I'm thinking for some cases, maybe that's what I'm seeing somehow. People even actually, they do want to try, they try, but they give up very quickly. And that's kind of reinforce their idea that, you see, I told you, for me, I'm a victim. I cannot do it.
And I think a lot of it when you say that is because knowing what I know, there's the pattern running. There's the addiction to the experience that you've had all the other times. And so it's like with any habit, you don't want to go back to autopilot, because the thing with subconscious is, yes, its primary job is to keep us safe and to use the least amount of energy. Okay. So when we're making a change, it's not an insignificant amount of effort for us to change away from the groove that we've got.
Yeah.
And so it is, we have to set the intention that what we want to do. And I think the other thing too is to be able to look and say, okay, now what's different? Not, am I where I want to be? But what's different? And what's different can be is, I'm now aware of this language that I'm using that I wasn't before. Am I still using the language? Yeah. But I've got an acute awareness around these freaking words that I'm thinking or they're coming out of my mouth that I never was aware of before.
Yeah. So this small milestones and small victories,
Yes.
that, again, you need to be aware of them, because again, the brain is like, oh, we could do this. Now this is easy. Let's see what else can we do.
Yes.
And
then you start noticing on other people, right? And all of a sudden it's going on. It's like, when I go back to, we don't get angry and upset about what people say and do. We get angry and upset around the story we tell ourselves as to why they're doing it or why it's happening, right? So if and the purpose of that is because a lot of people go, well, you know, if I don't hold on to my anger, then I'm basically letting people off the hook. What? No, because you're assuming the intent, that you know the intention as to why this is happening, right? It's because we make it personal.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole point of that is, when you were talking before about the piece of meat and everything else, we have our sage brain, so the part that's empathy and critical thinking and all the creative learning centers, all the stuff that shuts down when we're in stress, fight or flight. So if you're walking around in victim mode all the time, literally going to work, you got all this stuff that you have to do and you're staring at your monitor, you can't make decisions, you can't do it, you're in fight or flight stress mode. So you got nothing firing up here except your ability to run from a hungry tiger, and or lay down and play dead so that the tiger passes by. So the whole point of this stuff, and call it a hack or whatever you want to do, is to get us back firing on all cylinders so that we can ask ourselves, where's the opportunity? Even when we are in a war zone, okay, we want to be able to keep ourselves safe. But if we're in survivor brain, we're not necessarily seeing all the opportunities for that to happen. So that's the thing that comes to mind for me, is why this matters is not, it's not any other reason than to get all this stuff firing up here so that we can actually see the way out.
Yeah, and I also believe, and this is maybe my own experience, I'm curious if you saw this in your journey. I think there is, at least at the beginning, when you disrupt this completely helplessness and I cannot see, I think that it's very hard to do something only by your pure volition. And that brain that it's in flight or fight, or it's numb, or it's completely spinning, or it's completely blocked, it's very hard to ask from that brain to now be this clear, crystal cut person who can do these things just from the power. What I found useful, and this is where I was kind of also alluding earlier, just to understand what other people did when they were in a similar situation. I feel like we need, like this, what they say, like, representation matters, and the representation in this case matters. Like, if you see other people talking, like, yes, I was a victim, I was paralyzed, and this is what I did to get myself. That's, again, it might be another small crack that you can see. Oh, it's possible. Other people did it. Maybe I can do it too. And if you, in my case, and this came later in my process, I didn't need it so much. It was just amusing to me at that time. I heard so many people talking about imposter syndrome, self-doubts, and there is a podcast I'm listening, and that podcaster asks every time, the last question she asks from all her hundreds of guests is this: did you ever had imposter syndrome or self-doubt? And 99.99 of them says, of course, today, all the time.
Yeah.
So when you hear that, I'm like, it's kind of normalize it. I'm like, okay, it's not a question of I have it or I don't have it. Like, how do I manage through it? So hearing other people, like, again, put your brain a little more like in calm mode. Like, okay, it's not something that happened. I'm not unique after all. This is not happening just to me. Everybody's going through this, especially if you follow, again, I don't know, people listening to us, if you think of your favorite person in the world, or like the famous person that you admire in the world, I promise you, that person had similar problems like everybody else, every other human had. So that normalizes, that kind of calms down this brain a little to see that it's not the end of the world. And that's another, to me, I feel like a very important piece in this puzzle.
It comes down and I'll just say saboteurs, the judge that's in our brain, that you're not good enough, you're not, all that stuff. It's funny because imposter syndrome, I'm acutely aware of that phrase. Tony Robbins gets irritated by hearing it, right? Because he said it's just fear. And it is fear. It's fear that we don't have the answer, that we're not going to be good enough, that we're not going to, all the stuff, right? And so, and I have leaders, like senior leaders, that come to me and they're in new roles or newer roles, and that's the label they give. Or I want to build up my confidence. So I'm experiencing them as being confident, right? And I'm like, so where's that coming from? And they're like, well, I'm not sure when I'm here, it's a new role. And I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm just going to give you this to think about. Having a new role doesn't necessarily have to equate to confidence, whether you have it or you don't. Have confidence in what you know to be true. Have confidence in what you know to be true. And when you're tasked with learning something new, a new role, a new whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you have a lack of confidence. It means that you're learning something new, which is not lack of confidence. You don't know this thing.
Yes. Michelle, again, we are the same person. That's how I tell them, I tell to my clients to like, confidence doesn't come from knowledge.
No.
It's two separate things. And the way I think I read it somewhere, the best definition of confidence is the belief that you can figure it out. That's
Yes.
what confidence is. If you,
You
whatever
have
is
belief
coming
in
or
exactly. Yes, you have belief in the fact that, okay, I can literally find my way out of this, but it doesn't mean that you have all the answers.
yeah, so people equate knowledge and competence with confidence. And again, how many confident people we know that are not competent? That's
No. Yeah.
case in point. That's not, there is no relation. I mean, maybe there's a correlation, but not a causation between knowledge and competence.
So I think part of it, though, too, when you think about it, is having that clarification for people, because otherwise they may go around thinking it is a lack of this thing. And I see it with people in front of me when I talk about the imposter syndrome and the confidence thing and everything else. And they're like, oh, okay, that you can see them calm down. And they're like, okay, I can accept that. Yeah, because you can work with the fact that why would you know this stuff? There was never a reason for you to know it.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about confidence, but again, this everything we're talking here applies to anything. Like, like another very famous, at least in my world, example is the introverts who are like, cannot speak up, cannot be visible, cannot put down. Okay, I cannot, I don't know, it's not comfortable. Come on, like let's cure you of this also. Or people say I cannot. Oh, I cannot think big. I'm not a strategist. Or like, oh, I'm not operational. Come on. Nobody's asking you to be the most, the only, the best. But you can do some in any direction you put your mind at. But again, I think this idea of cracks, you need to keep adding cracks for you to be able to envision that it's possible.
It's so funny you say that because I had recently had one later in a new role, super, super bright. And the background is around engineering, that kind of background. And she goes, but I'm not an expert in finance. I'm like, so why would you need to be an expert in finance? Well, and I said, so you're at a level in the organization that, do you know experts in finance? Yeah. Can you call them and tap them if for some reason you need finance expertise, like at that level? Yeah. Do you know how to read a P&L? Do you know how to do a budget? Well, yeah, but I'm not an expert in finance. So if you can tap someone who has that expertise, why would you need to be an expert?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you can see the pieces that it's like, okay, let me present this a different way. Because in coaching, we reframe things. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I have my go-to people. Because we're then flipping it from coming from this place of lack to coming from this place of abundance to where I have this thing. I have people that, because we don't need to be everything. We just need to assemble the team with the skills.
Yes, but again, like if we solve for the person who has zero cracks, again, to me, I think that's the hardest nut to crack. The one that has no crack. Once you have more cracks, it's easier. And the one that you are mentioning again is exactly like how much you need to change yourself and improve yourself versus how much you can delegate. And do you want to have a party? You don't know how to make a cake? You go and buy the cake. You don't have to make the cake.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm not a famous baker. I played
Yeah.
one on TV or something. I think that's where the commercial goes, right? I slept at a Holiday Inn Express, and now I'm a brain surgeon. Yes. They're interesting topics. So if you think about all the stuff, Irina, that we talked about, what is 1 to 2 things that stand out for you that it's like, of all this stuff, here's the nugget.
I hope everybody who listens to us will never forget that the brain is a piece of meat in a dark place. And we tell to this piece of meat what to do, what to think, not the other way around. If we let it the other way around, it's going to be a little chaos, not the easiest life. But if we can take a little control, again, even if it looks impossible, and this again, like whenever you hear yourself, no, it's crystal clear for me that it's a no. If you can sit a second more with that thought and ask yourself what it could be different, what if could be different, how else could be different, if you allow yourself. And again, I don't know if I start talking about cracks relatively recently. I don't know if this is a thing that this can be a question. How can I put a crack in my belief? How can I, if I would have to demolish this a little again, but it sounds such an easy way, but I know, because I know I lived it. It's such a hard, when you are crystal clear, very hard for you to put a little crack. And if you cannot do it with your own pure volition, my other advice is just try to observe other people who are you like, you admire, who are doing very well the thing that you think you cannot do, and just try. I will even message them, call them, say, hey, did you always were a wonderful presenter? Did you always have this beautiful ideas? How did they? What was their story? Because I promise you, nobody's born with all these things. Most of them are built. So yeah, just keep putting cracks in that belief, because yeah, the brain can be on our side. It's much harder if we put this brain on the opposite side of us.
Well, and I love the idea that you're talking about, because what you talked about is beliefs, right? Because that certainty, that clarity is underwritten by beliefs that we have. And so I think part of it too is asking yourself the question, to your point, what beliefs am I holding right now? Right? And what if they weren't true? Because our experiences in life form our beliefs. Our beliefs inform our actions that get the results we have. So in order to do different things, we need to have different beliefs. So whether it's like, what if what I believe to be true is not true? And what beliefs would I need to have to do things differently? Because we can incorporate those things. And I think we can, if we start reviewing like that, we can create our own cracks in the belief foundation that we have. But it is, I mean, people are solid in what they believe to be true. And that's where I think we start unraveling this certainty, especially if the certainty isn't serving us. So if you have stuff that your beliefs are not serving you and where you want to go, aren't helping you move forward, frickin' challenge them.
That's such a good point, because I think another point of confusion for people is they don't even understand that that's not a good thing for them. Like, again, they don't ask themselves the question, is this good for me? Like they're so used to in that chaos. So that's another thing. Like, if you don't see, another step, I feel like it's many times hard for people. Once you see that there is a problem, once you see there is a fire, once you see that something is, again, it's a little not easy, but easier to ask, okay, what can I do about it? But again, what that step between, oh, for me, nothing else, but I'm fine, I'll figure it out. It is what it is. It is what it is. Until you say, okay, this is a problem, it's the fire, I need to, I want to, I have to, I must. Again, that's another thing that it's very hard for us to force people to show them when, if they don't see themselves the problem.
Yeah. And then it's repetition after that. There was, I'll end with this, is that I was on another podcast with Chris DeStefano and April Wyatt, And so we were talking about this need that you were talking about it's over and over and over and over again, right? That we bring ourselves back from the thoughts or the things or the beliefs or the whatever. And the fact that people get so they're like, I've tried 1,000 times and I have to keep reminding myself. And Chris shifted this perspective. He said, if it's 1,000 times that you're having to redo it, you're 1,000 steps further down the road. And I think it's important for people to remember, it's not like you're digging a hole by reminding yourself 1,000, but you're moving forward 1,000 steps.
Yeah,
So
and also I don't know.
it's important.
I think also, like, I don't know if add on what you said, sometimes people also get stuck because they say, but I tried 1,000 times and it's not happening.
Yes.
But maybe it's something else that you have to try. Like, it's not the
Yeah.
same thing 1,000 times, maybe 20 different things that you have to try. But even this is like somebody either needs to tell you this, you have to see it in some, if you it doesn't come for you, like maybe a curious mind or like a, or maybe it's just a mind that doesn't accept. So this is like, once you don't accept anymore the situation you are in and you come going on that quest, you will find your answer. I think the hardest part is what will push you to go into that quest.
Yeah, the thing that came to mind is it's usually rock bottom. So thank you for your time. You're welcome back anytime to continue a conversation, a different topic. And so this has been Leadership Soundbites with Irina and Michele. Have a freaking awesome day.